independent living resources, and job training, you'll find the support that allows people to live fulfilling lives. They're also hiring. If you're looking for a rewarding career supporting people with developmental disabilities, you can check out open positions along with learning more about services at ilc.net. Integrated Life Choices.
A lot of work goes into making Nebraska, Nebraska. Keeping it green. Helping it thrive. Making it fun. Everything that goes into caring for our outdoors, from waters to wildlife, plays a big role in making Nebraska home. Learn how we help conserve our state's natural resources at outdoornebraska.org.
Paid for by Nebraska Game and Parks. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
There's no better way to spark a child's imagination than to get lost in the adventure of a good book. I'm Jenny Benson, president of NSEA. Working together, parents and teachers can help every child succeed. You can help by reading to your child and let your child read to you. Encourage reading in your home and make it a priority. Make reading fun and a time that you and your child look forward to spending together.
Sponsored by the Nebraska State Education Association, aired by the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
I get it, slip it, cuff it, check it twice a day.
I get it, slip it, cuff it, check it in the morning and before dinner.
I get it, slip it, cuff it, check it, and share it with my doctor. Nearly 1 in 2 U.S. adults have high blood pressure. That's why it's important to self-monitor your blood pressure in 4 easy-to-remember steps. It starts with a monitor.
Now that I know my blood pressure numbers, I talked with my doctor. We're getting those numbers down.
Be next to talk to your doctor about your blood pressure numbers. Get down with your blood pressure. Self-monitoring is power. Learn more at manageyourbp.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council, the American Heart Association, and the American Medical Association, in partnership with the Office of Minority Health and Health Resources and Services Administration.
Live from the heart of Lincoln, America, welcome to Ticket Weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome into Ticket Weekends. I'm Harrison Arens on the ones and twos. Going to be going solo all the way up until 10 o'clock. A little bit of programming rescheduling here. We'll actually have Fitness Fanatics. They'll be remote, and they will go from 10 to 12 instead. So therefore, I will go ahead and fill up this hour. But there's plenty of things to talk about. It is Super Bowl Sunday. We got the Kansas City Chiefs and the San Francisco 49ers at 5:30 today. Our time, of course. We have Nebraska Hoops from last night. They're able to take down Michigan. Keep that home record pretty solid. The only home loss being to Creighton earlier in the season. They win that one 79-59. Then you look at the women's basketball team as they got a possible revenge game ahead here today at 12 o'clock. They got the Hawkeyes. So plenty of things to talk about. And if we have time, we'll even sneak in a little bit of college football as well. Talk about our Huskers again. But if you guys want to join the show, 402-464-5685. You can keep me company. Put a face to the voice, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and of course, Allo Channel 961. With that being said, though, I'm glad you guys are sticking around here. As I said, this stuff's going to be going pretty much all day long until we get to the Super Bowl. And even then, if you want some side distractions with the Super Bowl, you can still put up ticket content, keep that on one monitor and the Super Bowl on the other, especially with those Super Bowl breaks. We know they're going to be long and extenuous. So with that being said, let's go ahead and dive into it. I do want to start with Nebraska basketball. We had the post-game show last night. If you want to go back, you can always rewatch that on YouTube. But Nebraska wins at 79-59. And it was one of those games to where you needed to have it. That game was it really was you will lose it and it looks really, really bad. You win it and you just took care of business. But they did it in a convincing way, a 20-point win. But it's not going to move the needle too much for them. They did it at home. This is kind of expected from this Husker team, but it's still a good win. You wanted to regain your feet a little bit, especially when you look across and you see some of these other Big Ten teams. Wisconsin in particular is on a current 4-game skid. After Wisconsin took that loss to Nebraska when they were sitting high as a 6th seed, they have lost every game since. So Wisconsin's in a skid right now. And if you just look across the Big Ten, we've talked about it. It's not the strongest conference. So if you can continue to win out, there might be some unfortunate losses for some of these teams that we're kind of fighting for in terms of Big Ten play. So again, that's a good win for Nebraska. Josiah Alec, we're going to talk about some key players that really stuck out. We talked about offensive rebounds a lot, especially in these road games. Who's going to be that guy for Nebraska, or let alone just a team effort more focused on the offensive glass? Last night, it was Josiah Alec. He came away with 4 offensive rebounds. As a whole, Nebraska last night, 16 offensive boards. Still didn't quite win the battle. Michigan had 18, but it's a much better margin. You won the rebounding margin as a whole, though. 27 boards to their 43 boards to their 39. So you just beat them out on that one because you had 27 defense boards to their 21. Turnovers, another key stat that's kind of been a bugaboo for Nebraska, out of a lack of better words. As far as turnovers went, Nebraska wasn't bad there, 9 turnovers. And then you look at Michigan's 14. So you'll take the turnovers because that is one thing. If you're trying to point reasons why this team's been struggling on the road, it's been turnovers that you don't necessarily need. They're forced, and it's been offensive rebounds. The glass is a little more understandable. It's nothing you ever want to see, but we play small ball. You play a lot of small ball, you're probably going to be on that unfortunate end in terms of the glass. The turnovers is unexcusable, especially if you're playing small ball. If you're playing small ball, you got a lot of great ball handlers, good playmakers. Your turnover margin should be high. And unfortunately for Nebraska, up until last night, it was heading towards double digits on average, about 11 to 12 at certain stretches of the season. So that's certainly something to make you a little more optimistic that Nebraska basketball is able to do much better on the offensive glass, much better on the turnovers. Free throws were okay, probably the worst free throw shooting night, but nothing to really worry about. 10 for 16 there. But yeah, good game from Josiah Alec. Good game from Keisei Tominaga. It was really kind of his game if you're going to give it to anyone. He was 8 for 14, 3 for 6 from 3-point land. And you can imagine not all those threes were easy shots. He's just that kind of gifted of a shot creator. And then Bryce Williams, calm and collected, 13 points. Same thing with Rick Mast, 11 points, only took 10 shots. Juwan Gary, 5 points. He kind of takes the role, steps back, plays more of a defensive grinded out role. And then on the bench, just kind of scattered scoring. CJ Wilcher, he cools off. He only takes 4 shots, though, as well. 3 points. Sam Hoiberg, 4 points. And then Jamarcus Lawrence with 5. And Diop gets 3 points as well. 1 shot, 1 3-pointer. I'm sure you wouldn't guess Diop for his points to be the 3-point line, but nonetheless, he gets his with 3. And that is enough for Nebraska to go ahead and get the win. And I guess when you're looking at this schedule from here on out, if we're sticking with Nebraska hoops, this is a good opportunity for Nebraska now to just go ahead and try to get a road game. That is by far the most important thing for Nebraska basketball at this point. You've done it. You've beaten a number 1 Purdue team. You've beaten a number 6 Purdue team. You pushed a ranked, I believe, 14-16 ranked Illinois team on the road. You only lost in overtime. You need to win a road game. That is, if you're trying to do the does this team belong in March checklist, that's about the one thing left on the list for Nebraska basketball. They have yet to do it other side of that Kansas game. But if you look at actual conference play, what we're referring to, that's the only one they have. So again, we've talked about it a little bit before, but these remaining road games for Nebraska to try and get that resume builder. You have Indiana on the road, Ohio State on the road, and Michigan on the road. I don't want to say that any of these are layups, because we did see, as we talked about Wisconsin, why I mentioned their 4-game skid, because one of those was to this Michigan team that Nebraska just beat by 20 points. Wisconsin, they had to play Michigan at their home place, and it really felt like Michigan was in control the entire game. It wasn't a blowout by any means, but Michigan, for the most part, kept pretty comfortable control throughout that game, and that leads to a win for them. So you got 3 games: Indiana, Ohio State, Michigan. Those are your road games left. Nebraska, if you want to really solidify your case to being one of those March Madness teams, you got to steal one of those, and you feel pretty good about their bets against Penn State at home, Minnesota at home, and Rutgers at home. You only got to play Penn State once. Minnesota, they got a chance to go ahead and sweep the series with you guys. You remember earlier in the season, Nebraska takes really what was an ugly early loss on the road to Minnesota. It was the first conference game, and they just didn't show up for it. Rutgers, same thing. Big revenge game for Nebraska. You can probably remember the same way that we looked as we ended that Rutgers game on the road. Not a pretty product. So I hope that there is some revenge game element, kind of what we saw Northwestern do to Nebraska. If anyone was watching that Northwestern game when they came on the road to get revenge at Nebraska, or excuse me, when we went on the road and played Northwestern or Boo Booey. He's at home at Northwestern. He has himself a game. Nebraska's on the road. That was kind of the revenge game that I want to see against Minnesota and Rutgers. I want to see Nebraska take some pride, get them back at PBA. And if any of you saw Boo Booey kind of, I don't want to say mocking because it's fun to me. It's competition. It's fair competition play. If K-State Tamanaga is going to have a bunch of facial reactions when playing Northwestern and beating them, then I'm not going to clap back if Northwestern's doing the same thing to us when they're beating us at their home court. So with that being said, I do expect Nebraska to have some revenge games here. Minnesota, I'm not that scared of. Rutgers, I'm not that scared of. Penn State, I'm not that scared of. The only games I'm scared of are these road games because I really do think it's important for Nebraska to go ahead and lock one of those up. It's going to be, Rink Mast, K-State Tamanaga. Those seem to be the two guys to really guide the team on road. When it comes to that all-around performance, it's nice to have, but I've talked about this earlier. I do wonder if we still need to have that guy. It works out well at home when everyone's confident. Everyone can kind of have their own unique role. But on the road, when things get really tough, and this is where you see that lovely graphic that'll pop up from time to time, opposing team is up 12-0 run in the last 2 minutes of play, is we need that guy. Kind of like your Boo Booey is for Northwestern, what we want K-State Tamanaga or even Rink Mass to be for us. When the going gets tough, when the shots aren't falling, when they want to take away that three-point shot, just someone that could put their head down and go to the rim. It feels like it's Juwan Gary at times, but even then, you got to remember he's coming back from injury a little bit, so you don't want to push him too much. But you do need some of these guys to step up because I'm not going to guarantee Indiana, Ohio State, or Michigan. Even though these records are going to say these are wins for Nebraska, we've just seen it all year long. The parity, not even in just Big Ten play, but in conference play as a whole, winning games on the road has been a nightmare for about anyone in college basketball right now playing D1 in the Power Fives. It's just been tough, and there's no real good rhyme or reason for it other than this year is a little bit of an outlier that teams just simply are struggling to win on the road. This could be equivalent to the level of competition just gradually rising. We've seen it, across foreign leagues, how much better basketball is getting as a whole. And maybe you're seeing this college basketball now as well. It does make you wonder about these tournaments. And what I mean by that is as basketball is just becoming more skilled as a whole is if you remember when Virginia, the 1 seed, lost to the Golden Retrievers, and it was the first time ever. And it was just mind blowing that how could this number 1 seed lose to the 6-seeded Retrievers? Nonetheless, we kind of forget about it. Then it goes on. Then it happens again. Then we see Purdue. They take a loss. And then eventually it happens again. Maybe not later, but you see Purdue lose again to St. Peter's Peacock team that had no business being there. With the amount of years of eligibility left, I think you see it with 5-6-year players. They're not giving out as many high school scholarships. So you're seeing these group of 5 teams. Remember when we played North Dakota earlier in the year, there's a couple guys on that team. We barely scraped out of that game that could seriously be playing on Power 5 D1 teams. You're seeing a lot of these, what you would want to call average group of 5 teams that really would never be predicted to go far in any sort of late postseason run are now having those type of runs, or at least more likely to go and upset the Duke, North Carolina, Virginia, Houston, Alabama, Tennessee, whoever that 1 seed through 5 seed is, because basketball as a whole, especially with the 5-6-year players hanging around, a lot of these great players coming out of high school might end up on a North Dakota, might end up on an FCS school, might not end up to those Power 5s. And then you see them kind of make their way when you get to postseason play. So I think that's part of the parity with all these teams, not just Big Ten, although it does seem Big Ten focused. It's not. It's Big East, Big Ten, Big 12, SEC, pick your poison. Teams are just struggling to win on the road. I think this competition plays a lot to do it. I just think the league is getting more even than we've seen it in years prior. You're probably going to put the Big East in front of everybody else. That's fair. But as far as the rest of college basketball goes, it just feels like we're getting more even ground. Especially when you're just looking, say, the Big Ten. There's every single team in the Big Ten right now can beat each other. If you didn't believe that before, we just saw Wisconsin lose to Michigan. And that right there kind of tells you the story of the Big Ten. Nebraska, you're able to beat Wisconsin, Purdue, but you lose to Creighton. And then you lose to Wisconsin earlier in the year. Wisconsin, they're on a roll. They lose to Michigan. Purdue, they're on a roll, but they lose to you and they lose to Northwestern, but you beat Northwestern. It's an absolute mess. It's kind of the point of this whole thing. When you're trying to predict who's this best team in the Big Ten, it's honestly, if you're being serious, it's kind of a crapshoot. It's probably Purdue if you're just going advanced stats here. If you want to trust the numbers, trust the analytics, you're going to pick Purdue. Then you probably schedule in Illinois and then maybe Wisconsin at 3. And then from there on, you're kind of just guessing because it's all pretty close in terms of defense, offensive numbers per 100 possessions. But that's just kind of the way it goes. So I do think it's going to be interesting. When we get to the Big Ten tournament, I think it'll be telling who's going to have the best postseason run. We saw that with Michigan State, and we even saw that with Minnesota a little bit last year. The way it's so close right now and the way that these tournaments have been going, if you don't have what you've seen in teams like Kansas, where they have a bunch of 3rd, 4-year guys, Gonzaga, when they had Timmy, or you got a bunch of players. They're not there for 1 year. They're 3, 4-year players. I think that's your best chance of winning the tournament at this point because so much is just turned over. Those teams with good team chemistry, you even see that with UCLA a lot. You see that we talked about with Kansas and even UConn. You don't want to leave UConn out, of course. You see that parity helps them out a lot and who's going to be clicking at the right moment. So when we get to that Big Ten tournament play, whoever comes out of that thing at least makes it to the semifinals. Those are the teams I'm going to be circling because it's so close that I don't really feel comfortable about anyone. And as much as I love my Huskers, I'm not super confident that even if they get in, say as a 9 or a 10 or an 8 seed, my confidence level for those guys making a run is a 50-50. It's the same way I feel with about every Big Ten team, and that's even including Purdue. A Purdue team that's really good, that's shown weaknesses in the tournament for whatever reason. I'm going to be watching who's hot when we get to the Big Ten season post-tournament play. But with that being said, we'll go ahead and wrap it up there. Those are my thoughts on Husker hoops. Again, as they got the win over Michigan, 59-79. So a 20-point win added to the resume, one of the best seasons for Nebraska hoops. Since I can personally remember, it got down here in 2018, and even before then, watching those Husker seasons really hasn't been this good since. You can probably go back to around Petaway era, was probably the best we got. But we'll wrap it up there with Husker hoops on the other side. It is Super Bowl Sunday, so we'll be talking some Super Bowl, 49ers, Chiefs. We'll talk odds, who the favorite are, who you guys got, and if you guys want to put that in, 402-464-5685. But we'll throw it to break. I'm Harrison Arens going solo on Ticket Weekends here on Super Bowl Sunday. I'll talk to you guys on the other side.
Problem gambling affects millions of Americans daily, of all ages and walks of life. If your loved one is struggling with addiction, contact Choices Treatment Center's 24-hour helpline at 402-476-2300. That's 402-476-2300.
Landmark Implement, your local John Deere dealership, is hosting their annual Planter Clinic at the Adams County Fairgrounds in Hastings, Nebraska, February 21st and 22nd. Landmark's Planter Clinic offers expansive equipment training and important information on new and updated technology for this planting season. Get a refresher before heading to the field on in-cab monitors, maintenance points, and options to increase your operations profits. Join us February 21st and 22nd in Hastings. Learn more and RSVP at landmarkimp.com/events.
Your business runs like a well-oiled machine. It's important that your actual machines do too. Stern is here to make sure you don't have to worry about that. They provide solutions for heavy equipment and automotive fuels, lubricants, and equipment guard options. And with Stern's commitment to customer service for the past 40 years, you know you have a partner to help support your operations for years to come. Contact Roger at Stern Company by calling 1-800-477-2744 or visit them online at stern.co. Stern Company, where problems meet solvers.
Listen up, guys. Valentine's Day is almost here, and it's 3rd and goal, and we need a touchdown, not a field goal. You need a personal florist so you don't drop the ball. And Petal Creations can be the MVP for you this year by helping you impress the lady in your life with the Heart Box of Love display of roses. Trust me on this one. This play call will result in a touchdown. Call Petal Creations today to reserve your flowers at 402-423-6500 or go to petalcreations.com.
John Henry's has a brand new membership club to protect your entire home in one program. With a VIP and a deluxe option, we will help you find the plan that best fits your needs. Receive discounts on services and equipment, priority service, complimentary inspections, and so much more. Protect your home's plumbing, heating, cooling, and electrical systems all in one membership. Call John Henry's to learn more.
435-5555. John Henry's Plumbing, Heating
and Electrical.
Ever wish you had another light switch on the other side of the room on a dark night? How much better would you sleep at night if you had a ceiling fan in your room? The High Electric Service Department is here to make your electrical what-ifs a reality. Whether you're looking to replace some outdated light fixtures or brighten up your counters with under-cabinet lighting, High Electric can handle all types of residential electrical installations and services. Give Erica a call at 402-466-6606 or visit high-electric.com to get started.
My early Alzheimer's diagnosis was hard to take.
But it gave my mom and me more time to plan together.
Talk to your family about seeing a doctor. Go to alz.org/time to talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
When it comes to making plans, you are the best. What about those round trips, which are perfect on your way there and perfect on your way back? Or those meetings with friends, surprise parties, camps, birthdays. The same way you plan for the important moments, start planning to protect you and your loved ones from a natural disaster. Sign up for local weather and emergency alerts. Prepare an emergency kit and make a family communications plan. Get started at ready.gov/plan.
Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
You don't think about your roof very often, but you should never take it for granted. Roofing Service Company takes every measure to provide you with the highest quality roofing solution. Whether it's a new roof installation, roof repair, or a re-roofing project, their overall goal is to provide you with a pleasant experience and a long-lasting roof. If you have a need for siding or gutters, they're your place too. Visit roofingservicecompany.com for more info today.
Alexa, play 93.7 The Ticket.
Okay, playing 93.7 The Ticket.
Alexa, turn down the lights.
Dimming the lights.
Alexa, order a pizza. The big one. All the toppings.
Are you sure that's a good idea?
Alexa.
That's a lot of pizza for just one man.
Alexa, just do it. Stop judging me, just do it.
As you wish.
Thanks, Alexa. You're my best friend.
I'm Jenny Benson, president of the Nebraska State Education Association. The best way to strengthen our economy for the long term is investing in our education system and raising the skills of American workers. To succeed in the global economy, we need to modernize our schools, hire excellent teachers, and focus on the future. Support great public schools, and we can make the good life even better.
Sponsored by the Nebraska State Education Association. Aired in cooperation with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Integrated Life Choices has been inspiring opportunities for individuals with disabilities for more than 15 years in Lincoln and across Nebraska by offering a number of services. From group homes to independent living resources and job training, you'll find the support that allows people to live fulfilling lives. They're also hiring. If you're looking for a rewarding career supporting people with developmental disabilities, you can check out open positions along with learning more about services at ilc.net. Integrated Life Choices.
Back to The Ticket weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome back into Ticket Weekends. I'm Harrison Arens on this cold, a little bit of cold Sunday afternoon here as, I guess still morning, 9:30 in the morning here on a Super Bowl Sunday. This would typically be Fitness Fanatics, but they are getting pushed. So again, if you're waiting for Fitness Fanatics, don't worry. That'll go from 10 to 12, and they'll be remote as we're kind of getting out there, getting ready for the Ticket Zone events here. Again, if you want to hang out with them, they'll be down there at Buffalo Wings and Things. That'll be around the Super Bowl. So good hangout, Super Bowl squares, all that fun stuff. Get your prizes, rewards, hang out with the Ticket crew, get some food and drinks, and enjoy the Super Bowl with some of the Ticket crew in town. But with that being said, I do want to dive into Husker football a little bit. Before we do so, I should shout out women's basketball today at noon. They got the Hawkeyes, bit of a revenge game there for Caitlin Clark. At some point, you have to give Caitlin Clark credit for what she does, whether you think she flops or not. That's up to debate, but bottom line, she's a really good player. And if Nebraska could find a way to get a win against Iowa, that's definitely going to shoot their trajectory. They're kind of in that same wavelength of the men's team right now, where they get some momentum going and then they have a slip up. So this game, and obviously there's a ton on the line. If you can get a win against Iowa, same thing for the girls team. This will tremendously help your postseason chances of play here. So again, shout out to them. Be sure to check them out at noon as they got the Hawkeyes. But nonetheless, 402-464-5685, Starter Heyman text line. I want to talk some Husker football here. Few things to get out, just some news coming around, the Kirk Herbstreit, quote unquote, vouching for Dylan Raiola, calling Dylan Raiola's father to tell him to come to Nebraska. A lot of people got upset with that, which I was surprised by. Didn't see that tampering in any way. If you listen to Kirk Herbstreit kind of talk about it, what he was saying didn't sound like tampering. There's certain things to where we're in such an era now where everything is so sensitive. It just drives my mind that Kirk Herbstreit, just because of having a conversation, is going to have to give an explanation to everyone, even though right off the bat, it doesn't feel like tampering. The quotes he was giving never felt like it was anything nefarious, never anything saying your kid needs to go to Nebraska to do X, Y, and Z. It just said, wow, it would mean a lot for Nebraska. Nebraska really supports them. They got a fan base. He was kind of just letting them know this is what's on the table if he does go to Nebraska. I didn't think it was anything too nefarious to the point to where he is convincing my kid through NIL nefarious reasons to go to Nebraska. It was just silly. Something to point out. It does feel like as we get in this era of college football, we've talked about it with the NCAA, how they go about these penalties. We're seeing it with how they're attacking Tennessee right now just because of the quarterback. It just feels like a little bit of unfavoritism when it comes to that. It's pick and choose which case is going to be able to get us prove a point and get our money. When it comes to the NCAA, it does feel like they're losing people a little bit. You know, when you have coaches getting penalties for NIL on the small NIL stories, it's never this guy is getting fined because he gave a player $2 million in a bag outside of the parking lot when he wasn't supposed to, way past any of the recruiting time. No, it's always something like a coach, he sent a text when he wasn't supposed to. A coach maybe got a student a burger when he wasn't supposed to. It's always really dumb reasons that come up to play because it was a dumb reason, but just at a wrong time. But when the NCAA is changing the rules in the middle of the night consistently and not on a very consistent timetable, it's insanity to think that these coaches aren't going to slip up a little bit. And then when the NCAA decides to kind of pick and choose who they're penalizing when they're the ones changing the rules, what feels like overnight is just madness. That's like you are a construction worker and you are handed the blueprint. And on Monday, you start building the house. And then on Wednesday, they got a new blueprint for you. And well, you can't restart what you already just did. So you got to make it work. So you continue with the new blueprint. And then next week, they give you another blueprint. Well, you can't start back over again because you're on a timeline. So you got to start with that blueprint. And then at the end of it, when it's all this mess, they come back, the person who hired you, and tells you, this is all wrong. This is an absolute mess. This isn't right. This isn't right. This isn't right. And you can sit there as a person who built it, but like, I could have told you that when you gave me a different blueprint 3 different times throughout the construction of this building. That's what it feels like when you're talking about the NCAA. It's constant reorganization of the rules, the coaches. You got to think millions and millions and millions of dollars in college football for something that is that big of a cash cow. You can't be finicky with the rules, doing overnight rule changes, and then pick and choosing who gets penalized. There's too much money on the line. There's too many people in line. And it's why I think that if the NCAA kind of keeps dragging their foot on a lot of this stuff, if they keep failing to get ahead of the curve, I wouldn't be surprised to see the SEC or the Big Ten or even both of them maybe combine to create their own set of rules when it comes to NIL, when it comes to tampering, to give a more clearer picture. And then they can decide when they meet up to when these rules are going to be changed, as opposed to waiting from a letter from the NCAA at any given point in the season. It just feels like they're have been losing the respect. I don't think that's anything new to people's ears. For anyone listening out there, especially if you're into sports, college sports in particular, to understand the NCAA feels like they're losing their footing a little bit. That's no surprise there. The NIL kind of blew that thing in the water. When California said, basically, screw you, we're just going to start paying our athletes, you're going to have to adjust. That's basically what happened. They started doing it. Yes, there was some lawsuits kind of going back and forth trying to fight it out, but basically enough people just said, I'm not going to listen to you. You can try to fix it, but we're doing this. And when it comes to the NCAA and how they're handling NIL, tampering, fines, penalties, I won't be surprised to see if these people come together as well and try to find a way to push out the NCAA. Now, with that being said, it is could be pushed back. The only thing, if I'm going to play my own devil's advocate here, is when it comes to the SEC and the Big Ten, I don't know how much those coaches would really want to be doing that because everyone's just looking for an edge. When you look at Michigan and you look at their cheating scandal, it almost feels like Jim Harbaugh, as bad as the years were for Michigan when he first got there, you can imagine it wasn't always a peachy road to get to that national championship. Some of that cheating almost feels like a little bit of, okay, I'm going to do everything I possibly can to get an edge. And when it comes to NIL, when it comes to tampering, that might be one of the reasons why these people stay away, because if you can get an edge on that without having to collaborate with everyone and tell everyone your secrets, how you're handling everything, maybe that does give you an edge. So that's one thing I can say, possibly preventing, people from heading in that direction. But with that being said, there, when it comes to Husker football, that's pretty much it. I think with the NCAA, we got the Super Bowl Sunday as well. Husker football, you're seeing a lot of good things recruiting wise. You do hope that it's going to lead to something at the beginning of the season. You hope for it to be a fast start. Again, you got UCLA, USC, Washington, Oregon, all heading in over here. So you do hope for a fast start for them. But nonetheless, that's pretty much, I think we'll go ahead and put a pin on it in terms of college football. It does make me wonder, what's going to happen here in terms of NIL, in terms of the NCAA, how they're going to continue to handle things going forward. Because right now, it just still feels like it's a bit of a Wild West in terms of NIL. It's not the player's fault. The money's there on the table for them. I'm never going to condemn players for wanting to go out there and try to get a bag, but it is tough for these universities as well to figure out that control of, it's been talked about, re-recruiting your own guys, recruiting new players. What does that high school to transfer portal guys margin look like? You look at Colorado, it's completely different to what Matt Rule is doing for Nebraska. It's all going to be interesting to see here. So year 2 with Matt Rule, what does that slow process we're going to build with the high school players look like? And obviously on the opposite side, it'll be fun to see what does Colorado look like as they build purely through the portal. 2 completely different coaches, 2 year 2, but I do think it's important for Nebraska to get through a hot start. And who knows? We'll see what happens with the NCAA here. It's not going to go away anytime soon, I don't think, but I will be intrigued to see how do they continue to kind of hand out these penalties going forward, as it's been a little bit of a guessing game on how severe they're going to be, especially when you look at Michigan's case, how they got to the championship. Yes, it was sign stealing. To what degree? Apparently not enough. They're still okay to go ahead and play in a national college football championship. But we'll go ahead and put a pin on it there. That's pretty much my thoughts on Husker football as we're way, way outside of the season. I do want to take an early break because on the last segment, I want to go long. We'll be talking about Super Bowl Sunday, 49ers Chiefs. 49ers favorite to win it. I think the odds right now, if you're picking the 49ers, it's about -120. If you're going with the Chiefs, it's +100. So that right there is what will start the table on the next segment. So I'm Harrison Arens here on Ticket Weekends. Don't go anywhere. If you want to put a face to the voice, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and of course, Allo Channel 961. And I will talk to you guys in a little bit.
The Omaha Supernovas are back in action this Monday, February 12th versus the Grand Rapids Rise at the Van Andel Arena in Grand Rapids. The Mullen Motors pregame show with Derek Pearson and Renee Saunders starts at 5 p.m. with first serve at 6. Make sure to tune in to the next Ag Appraisal and Realty postgame show right after the match ends. Catch all the action on your flagship station, 93.7 The Ticket, and statewide on the Supernovas Radio Network.
Problem gambling can destroy an individual's finances, relationships, physical, and mental health. If you or a loved one are struggling with addiction, contact Choices Treatment Center's 24-hour helpline at 402-476-2300. That's 402-476-2300.
Integrated Life Choices has been inspiring opportunities for individuals with disabilities for more than 15 years in Lincoln and across Nebraska by offering a number of services. From group homes to independent living resources and job training, you'll find the support that allows people to live fulfilling lives. They're also hiring. If you're looking for a rewarding career supporting people with developmental disabilities, you can check out open positions along with learning more about services at ilc.net. Integrated Life Choices.
Southeast Community College invites you to check out our spaces ahead of your official campus visit. Our virtual campus tours let you see our campuses and learn more about our programs of study. Then you can schedule your individual visit in person or virtually. Virtual tours of our campuses in Beatrice, Lincoln, or Milford, and our learning centers are online at southeast.edu/visit SCC. SCC, your path to possible.
Junior Achievement at Lincoln inspires and prepares today's young dreamers to be tomorrow's goal breakers, leaders, and things we haven't even imagined yet. Help more kids while having a great time at the JA Bowl-a-thon. Sign your team up and raise money to ensure the educational programs focused on financial literacy, career readiness, and entrepreneurship are always free to thousands of students. The JA Bowl-a-thon is February 16th and 17th at Parkway Lanes and Hollywood Bowl. Register at lincoln.ja.org.
Listen up, guys. Valentine's Day is almost here, and it's 3rd and goal, and we need a touchdown, not a field goal. You need a personal florist so you don't drop the ball. And Petal Creations can be the MVP for you this year by helping you impress the lady in your life with a Heart Box of Love display of roses. Trust me on this one, this play call will result in a touchdown. Call Petal Creations today to reserve your flowers at 402-423-6500 or go to petalcreations.com.
Ironhide Construction is hiring. They're looking for hardworking, self-motivated individuals who are team players. Ironhide Construction has openings for an experienced project manager, estimator, apprentice, skilled laborer, and erector or installer. They will train the right people and make sure you understand the position and requirements. At Ironhide Construction, it's own it, be honest, and do it right. Apply today and learn more about their other benefits at ironhideconstruction.com, where they're committed to you every step of the way.
Sandhills Global is hiring. With their fast-paced, growing culture, they have hundreds of new openings in sales, marketing, traveling support, software development, web design, and more. Full-time roles offer a 4.5-day work week, along with flexible internships in most areas. Career and internship opportunities are available at our global headquarters in Lincoln, Nebraska. Find your fit today at www.sandhills.jobs.
Alexa, play 93.7 The Ticket.
Okay, playing 93.7 The Ticket.
Alexa, turn down the lights.
Dimming the lights.
Alexa, order a pizza. The big one. All the toppings.
Are you sure that's a good idea?
Alexa.
That's a lot of pizza for just one man.
Alexa, just do it. Stop judging me, just do it.
As you wish.
Thanks, Alexa. You're my best friend.
The first and only African-American male to win the U.S. Open and Wimbledon, champion tennis player Arthur Ashe was denied entry to South Africa in 1969.
The law is the law and I cannot play. So I drive away from that with my coach, knowing that the only reason I could not play was because I was black.
We salute star athlete and fighter for justice, Arthur Ashe, during Black History Month.
What a day. I could sure use an afternoon pick-me-up. Hold up. The new 93.7 The Ticket location has a milk, coffee, and tea inside? Oh yeah, this is a game changer.
Need an afternoon pick-me-up? How about a coffee or smoothie on your way to work? Stop by the Ticket Mill location on 1040 O Street to get your go-to drink or try out our new game day drinks, exclusive to the Ticket Mill location. We know it'll make your day a million times better.
Back to The Ticket weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome back into Ticket Weekends. I am Harrison Arens on this Sunday. And again, we'll have Fitness Fanatics right after this. We'll be back to our normal programming. So again, at 10 o'clock, we'll be back to Fitness Fanatics, and then we'll be remote as we get ready for the Super Bowl. And of course, women's basketball, they got the Hawkeyes at 12 o'clock today. And of course, if you guys want to join the show, 402-464-5685 is that starter Heyman text line. But I want to go longer on this one, save myself at least 10 minutes because we have the Super Bowl. And do you go with the tried and veteran Kansas City Chiefs? Because you got to think 4 out of these last 5 Super Bowls now have had the Kansas City Chiefs in it. You go to last year, KC in Philadelphia. Obviously, you remember that one. Bit of surprise to see the Eagles falter again the way they did, losing 6 of their last 7. But last year, Kansas City wins it 38 over the Eagles, 35. Year before that, it was no Kansas City. It was a surprise by Joe Burrow and crew as they beat the Kansas City Chiefs after that. What was one of the best football games you probably could have ever had in terms of the playoffs, with Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills versus Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes, but that was the year that Joe Burrow actually comes up and steals it. Rams win that one 23-20. Year before that, KC was in there again. That was Tom Brady's kind of farewell, or what was a few farewells. Tampa Bay wins that one 31. Kansas City only gets 9. And the year before that, KC's in it again. 49ers were there as well, 31-20. So the 49ers have been waiting for this for quite some time. It's been 3 Super Bowls since. KC's been in every one but that one. The 49ers have just been trying to get back in there, and now they have a chance, and it's versus the same opponent they had last time in the Super Bowl, versus the Kansas City Chiefs. So this one, it's kind of crazy to think, because although it feels like everyone's pretty well aware of how fantastic Patrick Mahomes is, 4 of the last 5 Super Bowls is kind of getting into that LeBron territory of a guy that just consistently finds ways to make it deep into postseason runs. And again, if you're looking at the odds here, they're still not favored. It's not like it's a crazy split. They're plus 100 if you want to, get a little, go to Warhorse Casino, get yourself a little bit extra cash, plus 100 odds there. If you want to really double down and go with negative odds, negative 120 for the 49ers. But this is a game where on paper, everything's going to say 49ers. You look at the defense, you like their ability to kind of keep Patrick Mahomes in check, to be able to get a body on Travis Kelce. You got Greenlaw and Warner, a couple really great linebackers back there to help you out. You like your defensive front. We don't even talk about Randy Gregory, but that's your depth. When Randy Gregory is your depth in terms of edge rushers, you're feeling pretty good. You got Bosa on one side. You're feeling fantastic there. And then, of course, offensively, Deebo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey, Brock Purdy. I mean, take your pick. You got so many offensive weapons that there really isn't a whole lot of rhyme or reason to pick the Kansas City Chiefs other than their experience. What I just said, 4 out of the last 5 Super Bowls they've made an appearance in. That is certainly credit to Andy Reid. That's certainly credit to Patrick Mahomes. You can't count that away. There is something to that, where if they're consistently making those postseason runs, despite year over year, they're getting a new set of players. This year in particular, this might be the worst offensive group KC's had in any of these Super Bowls. But they found a way to still beat what I thought was a solid Buffalo Bills team. The Buffalo Bills team that lost to the Kansas City Chiefs at home when they had the home field advantage this year, it wasn't the same Bills team earlier in the season. They found a way to fix their run game. They got cooked running the ball. Josh Allen's interception problem was no longer really a conversation, because when they got to the red zone, they had a run game to rely on. They had enough there to get them into field goal range, or go ahead, hand it off to Cook, and just try to get some yards on the ground. But KC found a way to overcome that. And I think a lot of it has to do with just Mahomes and Andy Reid playing 2 steps ahead. It's not like they have these absolute barn burners out there like the 49ers do. You're terrified when you see Deebo Samuel or Christian McCaffrey break into any open seam, because they're capable of breaking about 3 more tackles once they get to full speed. With the 49ers, you're really just scared of Kelce and Mahomes. And despite that, and you can throw Pacheco in there too. He's played a fantastic role. I don't want to take anything off him. But despite that, it's really just been Mahomes, at least in my opinion, playing a very safe and conservative game. That Ravens, I'll still keep going back to that Ravens game. I thought the Ravens should have won that game. That the Chiefs only scored 17 points. Mahomes, he didn't play bad, but he didn't do anything amazing. And I think a lot of that was, it just wasn't out there. That defense was playing really well outside of Kelce getting open a few times, which you can argue why the Ravens wanted to run zone as many times as they did when they got to that red zone. You definitely thought like the Ravens just didn't show up and play the best game offensively. They didn't run the ball, despite it being, for the most part, a 2-score game at most. Whatever it is with Lamar Jackson, once again, he just didn't really have a good day. You can argue that's the Chiefs doing it on defensively, but when I see a guy out there not even be able to get his screen passes on time and on target, to me, he's just not having a good day. You can argue why, but can't make a screen pass when you're doing it all season long. That's a little weird to me. It just wasn't a great game plan. Lamar wasn't having a great day. Zay Flowers had a taunting penalty. Zay Flowers ended up having a fumble. To the same guy he'd give it up, the same guy he taunted. A little bit of irony there. But there's just so many things that fell apart. But there was plenty of space in there for the Ravens to go ahead and get momentum and at least take over and make it a 1-score, a field goal game. and they just couldn't get it done, even though Patrick Mahomes, that's where you give him credit. That's where, even though they only scored 17 points, I think he saw all the things I just talked about. I think he saw the Ravens struggling on offense. I think he saw Mahomes just naturally in his head play a little bit more conservative. Why do I even need to risk a turnover on what is one of the best defenses in the league right now when I can just calmly conserve the ball, move it? You've seen it. He uses his legs all the time and just nonchalantly move the sticks to keep the drive alive and just eat up time of possession. I think if you're looking at a Chiefs to win today, I think that's what it's got to be. Because when I look at the 49ers and I look at all the talent they have, the only thing that's really going to slow them down, and it bothers me to even say this, is Brock Purdy. Because I think Brock Purdy's done such a fantastic job all season, and I've never seen a quarterback that's been really, oddly enough, had a ton of pushback. When it comes to young, great players, we like to throw them in that GOAT conversation early, not as he is going to be the GOAT, but does he have the potential? Can he be that franchise guy? We want it to happen so bad. Justin Fields for the Chicago Bears, if he has one good game, that's all Chicago fans want to talk about, me included. I just want to really get behind my quarterback. Even people outside of the Bears, they kind of feel that same way. They like watching Justin Fields. Justin Herbert, when he was having his run, people really excited about him, kind of anointing him as that next great quarterback. For some reason, when we got to Brock Purdy, I don't know if it's just the pure talent around him, but he's been having that game manager title for so long. I don't know if it's purely because where he was drafted, that irrelevant spot, but he's proven it. Last season, if you were going to argue was a fluke, well, now he's in the Super Bowl again this year. And to me, he doesn't have to win this thing to prove that this guy is going to be a great quarterback. Does he go to the Super Bowl if he's on the Panthers? Of course not. I don't even know if Mahomes could pull that off. But what he's doing is still incredible, because it's not like it's been the smooth ride where in the middle of the season, there were some injuries and he had some moments where he could have let it get into his head. They were losing games and the stats would indicate that he had a big part to do with it. He had a few games with multiple interceptions, bad completion percentage, and just taking a lot of unnecessary sacks instead of using his legs. And he fixed that in the middle of the season. Meanwhile, we have guys like Jalen Hurts where down the stretch, they just got worse. And he has the best offensive line. He's got plenty of weapons on offense as well. And you wouldn't say that defense for the Eagles was bad either. He had a group on defense that for the most part, you could really trust until that late part of the season. So I think what Brock Purdy is doing is incredible. I think he's already kind of deserved the title of he is just going to be one of those quarterbacks that's here to stay for a long time. I don't care. You can put him on a lot of other rosters, and I guarantee you'd have more success with him than you would have Sam Howell. And that's kind of the spot where it feels like people want to compare him to sometimes is a Sam Howell, the guy that's not even sure what his year is going to look like next season in the NFL. So those are just some of my intakes. Looking at this game, though, I am going to go with the 49ers. I was kind of switching my head back and forth a little bit. A few times I thought about taking the Chiefs just because, again, 4 out of the last 5 Super Bowls, they've made an appearance. But I think this one does go to the 49ers. I think if they can do their job and start fast, one thing to worry about, Chris Jones. If Chris Jones gives Brock Purdy a lot of problems in the backfield, that's something to kind of worry about. But other than that, I just think they have so many weapons on offense. I think Shanahan, what he's able to do, it's going to be a little bit of a chess match, but I just think he's going to have a lot more moves on his table than what Andy Reid's going to have. But the defense for Kansas City has been playing good. So again, there's plenty in play here. You can't just say that, Baltimore didn't score a lot because they didn't show up. Part of that was a great game plan by the Kansas City Chiefs defense, and they might have something dialed up today as well. But I'm going to go with the 49ers, and I'll stick with the same score I got last time. I'm going to go 24-21. San Francisco 49ers, they go ahead and win their Super Bowl and finally get one because, again, it's going to be fun. Last time they were in the Super Bowl, they faced the Kansas City Chiefs. And they weren't able to get that one. So this good revenge game for the 49ers. You got George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, Brock Purdy, and crew versus Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and Pacheco will probably be that best third guy on that roster in terms of the offense. But we'll go ahead and get out here. We'll keep our ticket programming going as planned. We got Fitness Fanatics up next. They will be remote. So be sure to stay tuned, plugged in. They'll go from 10 to 12. Then we have the Breeze from 12 to 1, and then we'll be right back on schedule. So this is Ticket Weekends. I'm Harrison Arens. Don't go anywhere.